Our next speaker is Kate Lang, who is a senior staff attorney from Justice and Aging, also filed an amicus brief representing the interests of elderly Americans in Puerto Rico. Kate.
Good morning and thank you. Thank you, Aurelia, for being here today to talk about Isabella and her struggle. My name is Kate Lang, and I'm a senior staff attorney working on economic security issues with Justice and Aging. Justice and Aging is a national nonprofit organization that uses the power of law to fight senior poverty by securing access to affordable health care, economic security, and the courts for older adults with limited resources. At Justice and Aging, we focus our advocacy on those who have been marginalized and excluded from justice, such as women, people of color, LGBT individuals, and people with limited English proficiency. And this includes many residents of Puerto Rico who have been excluded from SSI. This exclusion is unjust and discriminatory, and because of the high rates of poverty and disability, a large population of older people, and other inequities in Puerto Rico, the exclusion causes immense suffering for so many people, as we've just heard. SSI is important because it was designed to make sure that people over 65 and people with disabilities who don't have the ability to work can meet their basic needs. By definition, SSI beneficiaries have limited resources and depend on SSI for their survival. Justice and Aging believes that classifying a group of our nation's poor and disabled as second-tier citizens simply because they reside in Puerto Rico is wrong and serves no rational purpose. Excluding Puerto Rico's residents from receiving SSI is particularly harmful, given the island's high proportion of older adults and high disability rate. In 2019, the poverty rate in Puerto Rico was a shocking 43.5%, approximately 4 times the 10.5% average for the 50 states and the District of Columbia. Puerto Rico has a higher percentage of older residents than any state. People aged 60 and older constituted 26% of the population in 2017, and the older population is increasing. Like Puerto Ricans of all ages, a large percentage of the older population is impoverished. The percentage of Puerto Rico's residents aged 65 and older living in poverty is 40.2%. The exclusion of Puerto Rico's impoverished older residents from SSI is particularly harmful given the island's lack of long-term care services benefits under Medicaid because of inequitable federal caps. This difference in the structure of Medicaid financing for Puerto Rico has contributed to broader fiscal and health systems challenges, making the need for income supports through SSI even greater. It is a grave injustice that these substantial financial trade-offs are imposed on the low-income residents of Puerto Rico and continue to push Puerto Rico's economy further into a downward spiral. In addition to experiencing high levels of poverty, Puerto Rico's older residents have one of the highest disability rates in the United States and its territories. Nearly 1 in 6 Puerto Rican residents of all ages, that's 15%, are disabled, according to the Census Bureau, compared to 8.6% of the general U.S. population. Moreover, factors contributing to Puerto Rico's high poverty rate have disproportionately affected the disabled community. Nearly half of the island's disabled residents live in poverty, and that's twice the U.S. average. While some territorial residents can qualify for limited government assistance through the Aid to the Aged, Blind, and Disabled program, or AABD, those benefits are a fraction of what SSI provides and are an inadequate substitute. This system is not equitable, and it hurts older adults and people with disabilities in Puerto Rico who would otherwise have access to critical income supports. Hunger is also a huge problem for Puerto Rico residents. A study by the Puerto Rico Institute of Statistics in 2015 found that approximately 22% of adults in Puerto Rico reported skipping meals or eating smaller portions because they did not have enough money for food. And that was before the island's current economic crisis, 2 devastating hurricanes, and the more recent coronavirus pandemic. A 2020 survey found that food insecurity was high as 40% across the island. Puerto Rico is not equipped to meet the needs of its increasingly elderly and disabled population without access to SSI. This is unfair, and we must end this inequitable system. Thank you.